I wanted to come on and pose a couple questions because I've been hearing a lot, and I'm always hearing a lot about Christianity and the Bible and these very conflicting people and conflicted people who are always regurgitating the Bible to the best of their ability and talking about the Bible as if they understand it or they know it. And so I've always been very curious, and I've posed this question before and nobody has answered it. Because nobody has the answer. Not the Israelites, not the Christians. Nobody has the answer because everyone's too busy faking the funk. Everyone's pretending that they understand spirituality because they read a couple of scriptures, because they call themselves something, they ordain themselves something, and therefore they are. Right? So, my question is, for all the Christians in the house, as well as the Israelites, what is the purpose of Jesus and Yeshua? What was the purpose for him coming and dying on the cross for mankind? What was that for? I'm just really, really curious to know the answer to that, if somebody can. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm really wanting to know the answer to that. Like, what was the purpose for Jesus to come and die on the cross? What was the purpose of that? What was the purpose for that is what I asked. Because when I was in organized religion, and I used to be in organized religion, I was in organized religion physically, as far as like going to a place of worship where they called worship and all that. I did that for, I would say probably a good 10 years. And prior to that, I was still indoctrinated in organized religion. I just didn't participate in the church because my soul knew it was full of crap. But I used to be involved in organized religion, and I used to believe, and I used to accept the whole Jesus and him being the Messiah and him dying for our sins. It never made sense, even when I was going through it. But that's kind of what you do. You just accept it because, that's what your mother and your people that, you respect and you trust believed. But it never really made sense to me when I really tried to put it into perspective. Oh, I can make it work for me, and I did. But it just still didn't make sense. So I like to pose that question to those who claim to be Christians and Israelites and so devout. And again, I'm not mocking. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm truly trying to see. Because if you can convince me and you can explain it to me like I'm a 3-year-old and make it make sense, then I am completely open, because truth is truth. And that's all I'm about, is truth. But this is what I was told when I was inside of my indoctrination in my organized religion, the reason why we needed Jesus. Because we were separated off from God, and we needed to be reconciled. We needed to be able to be reconciled with God, so that we needed that mediator, which was Jesus, to come in and die for us, because Adam was a perfect man and he sinned and he fell. So we needed a perfect representation to come in as proprietary in order to swap that out, perfect blood for perfect blood, so that we can be reconciled back to God. That's what I was taught. And also that we needed that mediator. We needed a mediator to stand and mediate for us. Because we, which is still, if you think about it, a contradiction, because like if we needed to be brought back to God and that death was going to bring us back to God, then why do we still need a mediator? But in conclusion to what I was told, it was simply just, Adam fell. He was a perfect man. He sinned while he was perfect. And because of that, we needed another perfect man to come in with the same stature and sacrifice himself in our place so that we might be able to be reconciled back to God. And in addition to that, we needed Jesus so that we can pray. And when we end our prayers, as everyone knows, when we end our prayers, we end by saying, in JC's name, and we end it. So be it. And then we also, we're taught that, the only way we can get to the Father was through the Son. That's what we were taught. That's what I was taught. But then when I started coming out of that haze and breaking the spell, I began to realize that if Daniel was a prophet before Jesus, if he was able to pray for forgiveness for a nation of people and receive that forgiveness for his people, and he was able to pray without having to say in JC's name, because JC didn't exist at that time, and he was able to have his prayers heard and answered, because if you all know the story, when he prayed for the Israelites to be released from Babylon for those 70 years that they were in captivity, Cyrus came along and answered that prayer. So, why do we need Jesus again? Because as you can see, that was a clear demonstration of a man on his own, praying on his own, praying through his own breath, ending that prayer by his own will and having it received. And I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it at Daniel. But I could go deeper, and I can go with more. But I'm posing the question to all those Christians out there who are listening. And I'm posing the question to those Israelites out there who are listening. And if you can please, pray tell, answer that question for me. I'd appreciate it. If Daniel was praying and having direct communication with God without Jesus having died, if he was having his prayers answered and his sins, forgiven, not for just himself, but for an entire nation, to release them from the captivity that supposedly they were placed in by God. Why do we need Yeshua? Why do we need Jesus? Get out of your feelings. Don't be offended, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I am simply asking an intelligent, wise question. And I would just simply appreciate an answer.